Okay, as the men are passing the offering, I invite Nate Holt to join me up here. Nate is a student at Eastern Illinois University, and he was up here on this platform just last year sharing about his cross-cultural project trip, but now he's back with us again to share how God has been working in his life. So here's Nate Holt.
Good morning, guys. I've been asked to share a little bit about how God's shaped my view of evangelism over the past couple of years. The Lord saved me a couple months before I came to college. So that summer before college, I spent this summer praying that God would give me a good church to go to when I got to college. And so I got to college at Eastern Illinois, and through a couple of events that had taken place, I met a guy named Zach that was on staff with Campus Outreach, and he invited me to come to church with him the next day. I said, hey, yeah, that sounds great. So went to church with him, and then the next day, after church was over, he's like, hey, we have this thing on Sunday nights called prayer and worship. You should come. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. Little did I know that Campus Outreach had only been at Eastern at that point for a year, so it was very, very small ministry. So I show up on Sunday night, and there was about 4 or 5 students there. And then the rest of the campus staff, and I was like, all right, I don't really know all of what this is, but okay. And so the thing went on, and we broke up into prayer groups to pray. And I remember sitting there in the prayer group, and the guys are praying for these ridiculous prayers in my mind, like it was just like they were praying for like 20 guys to come to know Jesus, and guys from fraternities, and girls from sororities, and guys in the football team. And I was just sitting there. I didn't say it out loud, but I was thinking in my head, like, are you guys insane? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, have you, like, looked around this place? Like, I've been here for 3 days, and I could tell you already, like, no one here knows about Jesus, and no one cares to know about Jesus like this. Like, you guys are nuts. So that year, I got to watch firsthand, though, as I would see those people go up to students that were Russian fraternities that had everything that you could wish for in college, all the girls, all the fame, all the fun. And I knew that they were trying to share with them. And I was just sitting there, I was just like, you guys are wasting your time. There's no way that person will ever come to know Jesus as Lord and Savior. And I got to watch as those very people gave up everything that any regular college student would want to have to follow Jesus. And it was like, man, it just showed me like, man, not only is my view of God really small, my view of the gospel is incredibly small as well, the power that the gospel has. So coming back into my sophomore year of college, I was like, all right, man, I'm ready to do this. I don't know how to share my faith. I've never done it before, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. So I shared with a guy named Mike, and God saved him. And then my second semester of my sophomore year of college, I met a guy named Miles. And so I asked Miles, I was like, hey, Miles, man, you want to meet up once a week and talk about some things from the Bible and just talk about Christianity and the central message of it? He's like, yeah, it sounds great. So we met up every week for 5 weeks, and at the end of the time, I was like, man, Miles, like you've yet to like disagree with anything that I've said thus far. Like, what's your holdup? Like, why wouldn't you give your life to this? And he's like, man, I'll tell you why. And so he gave me a list of reasons. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be modest or anything. I did not say anything that cool over the next hour or so. But I got to watch in front of my own eyes as Miles, literally the things that he said were the things that were holding him up from becoming a Christian. He like just started saying, you know what? I'm not going to do that or not going to do this. I got to watch in front of my own guys as God changed this guy's heart forever. And it was amazing. And so coming into my junior year, I shared with a guy named Peyton, and God saved him. And then the next semester, the guy led to Christ. My first semester of my sophomore year of college, led a guy named Blake to Christ. And then this year, we're all 5 living together on a dorm floor and sharing. And I don't say all this to say, like, man, Nate, the awesome evangelist, leading all these people to Christ. It's like, man, I first just would say, like, man, I wish you guys could be there. Like, I don't ever say, I always screw up. I always say things wrong when I'm sharing the gospel. God's the one who saves people. But what I think of, like, compared to my freshman year, compared to now, it's like, I don't have a choice. Like, this is something like I have to do. Like, it's inside me. It's like if I was out in the lobby and I was sitting there and I saw the building was on fire, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. The building's on fire. And you guys were all in here, and I just walked out of the building. It's like, no, like I would come in here and tell you guys that the building was on fire. This reminds me of Acts chapter 4, when the religious leaders come and arrest the disciples for preaching the gospel. And they say, like, hey, you better shut up about this, or some really, really bad things are going to happen to you guys, some really terrible things. And the disciples in Acts chapter 4, verse 19 and 20 says, "But Peter and John answered and said to them, 'Whether it is right in the sight of God to listen to you more than to God, you judge. For we cannot but speak of the things which we have seen and heard.'" And I just can resound so much with those guys. Like, man, after all the things that God has shown me, after all the things God has done in my own life, there's no choice. I have to tell people about this message. It's so life-changing and so important. But thank you guys for your time.